A quick disclaimer before the video begins. Any footage used from certain TV shows is being used for commentary purposes only and are not owned in any way by me. Thank you for listening.
When I mention good superhero TV, maybe this comes to mind, or maybe even this.
They go through the butt? Superman's an alien. He's got a poop fetish. What? Google.
These are just a few examples of my personal favorite modern superhero shows that came out like in the past couple of years. But in this video, I'm going to go over the actual juggernauts of superhero television in the past couple of years. And I think you guys might know what those are based off the thumbnail. Alright, let's get into Invincible first because that is the most recent one I've watched and just what I can remember off the top of my head. So, unless you've been living under a rock, Invincible is a comic series originally made by the same guy who made The Walking Dead, and then they turned it into a TV show. Oh man, I forgot what year it came out. Google image search. It came out in 2021. Anyways, this show is an absolute banger. This is like one of my favorite superhero shows recently. The most recent season that came out was season 3, and that was a crazy one. I think that's by far the best one that's been out yet. But it just kind of like the overall, like the show is great. I recommend it. Everybody go watch it. It just does everything right. I know there's been like, I'm not gonna go in too much detail about it, but I know there is some parts that are probably not for everybody. But hey. It's a great TV show nonetheless. It probably will stand the test of time, like years down the road. I think the Invincible War arc was absolutely insane. They did that really well. And if you haven't read the comic book series, I'm pretty sure there is a YouTube playlist that goes over the entire series. I definitely recommend go watching that if you want it spoiled, but if not, then don't. But yeah, I'm gonna get into at least like maybe just 2 characters off the top of my head. So, let's talk about Mark Grayson, Invincible. Now, he is probably one of the most relatable characters in the entire show, obviously, except for like the part where he's part alien and has superpowers, and he's basically a god, and he also gets his butt whooped like all the time, but that's kind of part of it. He's got to get beat to get stronger. But what I mean he's relatable is, you know, he's just a normal dude with normal problems, you know. He is actually, I actually Google searched this and I'll put it up on screen right now. He is slightly based off Spider-Man. And, you know, when Spider-Man was created, Stan Lee made him to be a relatable character. Like that anybody could, you know, like everybody's like everyday problems you could be related to. So that's where Mark Grayson kind of falls as well. But I think his whole journey so far has been great. His brother Oliver is a really great character. His relationship with Omni-Man is pretty good. I mean, even though they fought in the first season, but like it's just great. Besides him getting absolutely pummeled a lot, I can't stress this enough. Go watch this show. It is insane. When you compare it to other superhero shows that came out, looking at Marvel specifically, while Marvel has had great shows come out, they've also had some mediocre ones to say the least, and I personally feel like their quality has dropped off since Endgame, but that's just me. I think what we want as fans is just, you know, well-written stories, you know, just great TV shows, right? And Invincible hits that mark on like every corner of the board, right? Another great character is Alan the Alien. He's basically at first when he pops into the show, he's part of the coalition of planets. He is, going around surveying the area, But if you've read the comics, he actually becomes really important later on, and I know eventually they will get into that arc. And I don't want to spoil that part because it's pretty crazy. If you haven't read the comics. And another great character is Angstrom Levy, which is like Mark's rival or his nemesis, and he like literally basically almost kills his family, his mom and his brother. And then at the end of the Invincible War, he finally I think he killed him. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've watched it, but that rivalry between those two characters is insane. And then obviously Omni-Man is one of the like the twist in season 1 when it's slowly, like, obviously it's the twist for the characters in the show, right? Like, we know in the first episode as the audience that Omni-Man is actually like horrible. He's like super evil dude because he wipes out the Guardians of the Globe, the original ones, like absolutely pummels all of them. And when we're going through season 1, we have Damien Darkblood and Cecil kind of investigating him, like, hey, like, Omni-Man's suspect number 1 because like he comes out unscathed, but everybody else is dead. So I think that was just like the greatest part of season 1 was Omni-Man. He stole the show, I think, at every corner. See, season 2 of Invincible, I can't really remember too much of it. Besides, I think that's when Angstrom Levy originally showed up. But in season 3, I think that season 3 is by far the best season. I think personally, just because of the Invincible War arc, and then not Thrag, but Conquest coming in at the end. And that fight between him and Mark was insane. And it's just great moments like that make this TV show great. And obviously you see Mark developing as a character throughout this entire show. And his thing is, he doesn't want to kill anybody, he wants to at least like try to reason with them. But by the end of season 3, he does like eventually, turn the corner, like, okay, maybe I do need to start killing people because these people are horrible and they want him dead more than anything. And that's mainly what happens with, I think that's like kind of what he realizes after fighting Conquest, if I remember correctly. But I know I said I wouldn't spoil it, but that's kind of spoiler territory. Sorry, I will leave a spoiler disclaimer before I talk about any of this. But there was also the arc in season 3 where he wore his black and blue suit, and that was after he stopped trusting Cecil, because Cecil like is his mentor and wants to help him, but he's doing it in a way where Mark doesn't trust him. Alright, it is now day 2. I have slept since making this video. I noticed I sounded very tired, which I was very tired yesterday working on this. But to kind of wrap up things on the Invincible section so we can get into the boys, I just want to give an honorable mention to the character Rexplode. He's probably also one of my favorite characters in the show. Just his entire arc up to season 3. I mean, yeah, he was kind of a douchebag at first, but then he ended up being like one of the coolest characters in the show. And another character I want to mention is Rex Robot. He's an interesting character all around. I think later on, when they get deeper into the comics, that's when his character becomes really important and he does some pretty crazy stuff. I won't get into that here, but those are just 2 characters I wanted to mention before wrapping this section up. If there was anything I missed, let me know in the comments down below, and let me know what you guys think of Invincible, if you've watched it, if you read the comics. I think it's one of the greatest piece of superhero media we've gotten in a long time. But now we'll go ahead and get into the boys. Or, yeah, the boys section. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Alright. It is now day 3, and I've decided to do this a little bit differently. Sorry this is taking me a minute to edit. I actually had to restart my computer. I don't know what was going on with it. And then also my internet shut off, so that's fun. Alright, let's get into the boys, the premise. This is also based off a comic book series, and it is very violent and very vulgar. Just a warning if you decide to watch this. So, essentially, it's about, in the first season, we get introduced to a team known as the Seven. They're like the big superhero team in this universe. We got Homelander, Queen Maeve, The Deep, A-Train, Black Noir. Translucent? Yeah, that's who it was. And Starlight, I kind of forgot to mention her, my bad. And basically, like, they're a great superhero team, or so we're led to believe. We also cut to Huey, our main character of the show. He's just a normal guy, living his normal life. And all of a sudden, it all changes one day when his girlfriend that he was about to propose to gets absolutely demolished by A-Train, because A-Train freaking actually ran through her, and I mean in a literal way, because A-Train is a speedster. So what we find out is that superhero team, the Seven, they're not all they're cracked up to be. They're actually horrible people, and they are owned by a corporation named VOD, who actually created all the superheroes, we find out later. And that's kind of what we go through in the first 2 seasons. And when it gets to about season 3 or 4, that's when things start kicking up. Season 3, we got the 2 of our main characters, Billy Butcher and Huey, taking the K20 serum, I think it was called. I'm going to correct myself if I'm wrong on that. But basically, if they take too much of that serum, it's going to kill them. But the reason why they're taking that serum is so they can fight the Supes, because they're against the Supes. They're with the CIA. They're trying to take down the Supes because they're, Homelander. We'll get into Homelander eventually. But they're horrible people, and they want to take him down. That's pretty much the premise. I won't spoil too much more, because I think you should go watch this show. And now I will get into some of the characters of the show. It's kind of like what I did with the Invincible. Yeah, the Invincible section. Yeah. Alright. Yeah, that's the premise. Alright, I am now actually getting into deeper spoiler territory. Sorry for spoiling as much as I have so far, but I will leave a spoiler warning at the beginning before I even start yapping, if you haven't seen the show. But there are a few characters I want to give mentions to that are my favorite characters, and then also just point out a couple things in the show, and then we'll wrap it up basically. So the first character I want to talk about is Homelander. Obviously, he's basically the main superhero villain antagonist of the show, and he is the most horrible person probably ever. Anthony Starr does a great job portraying him, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about what Homelander does in the show, but I mean, there is at one point in the first season where he literally lets a plane full of people die. That was pretty horrible. He manipulates his son that he found out about, I think it was season 2. And then he basically just, wants to take over the world by the end of season 4. And it's a top tier character for me. But that's about as far as I'll go into that. The next character I want to talk about is Soldier Boy, and he's played by Jensen Ackles, and he kind of shows up at I believe it was season 3, and he's kind of the weapon that the boys need to take down Homelander. But eventually you find out, what you find out about Soldier Boy is that his power is taking out Soup's powers. He can destroy their powers essentially with his beam of light. But he's also as strong as Homelander. But the reason why he's as strong as Homelander is because he's actually Homelander's dad, you find out. And I thought that whole dynamic was kind of crazy. He is just as bad as Homelander though, once you kind of get deeper into season 3. But I still think he's a cool character nonetheless. He just portrays that, cocky douchebag character, and I think it's kind of funny. But that's just me. The next character we'll go over is Billy Butcher. He, is the leader of the boys. He really despises the superheroes through and through, because obviously you've seen the show, or maybe it was in the comics too. I know they've changed some stuff from their comics, but basically Homelander did something pretty horrible to somebody Butcher knows, and basically just the Supes basically just ruined his life, and he just wants them gone, exterminated. But you find that out in season 1. But Billy's a great, I think he's an awesome character. I know the team doesn't really trust him later on, but he eventually I think he's one of the better best characters in the show. I know these were probably obvious choices for my top characters, but if you've seen the show, you'd probably understand. I think The Boys is a great representation of what would be a sort of reality of how superheroes would be in our lives. It's gory, it's dark, it's very vulgar. So if you do watch The Boys, just fair warning, it's pretty violent. But I think what drew me to these shows versus others is that kind of grounded reality. These shows do what others really can't or won't, but I'm not saying like every superhero show, or any fiction for that matter, has to be grounded. But as I've gotten older, my taste has obviously changed. And kind of stemming back to the beginning of the video, but like my main issue with like Marvel and DC is like it's been kind of obvious. I feel like the past, like probably after Endgame, and then obviously what happened with the DCEU. I think those companies are either scared to do something different, or when they do something different, people generally don't like it. You know, it's like a double-sided coin. And I feel like they're struggling to get a win, you know. But I mean, that's just kind of my thoughts on that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's all just fiction, entertainment. You know, it's supposed to be for our enjoyment. You know, to kind of get a break from reality. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is kind of my first commentary style video going over like a topic in a few years. So let me know how I did. And, you know, feel free to correct me if I missed any information on Invincible or The Boys, or, you know, and also let me know what you think of these shows. If you've seen them, if you've read the comics, let me know what you think of them. If you like them, if you don't like them, you know, whatever. But hope you all have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.